All right, folks, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October Human Rights Commission meeting. If you are not here for the Human Rights Commission, you're in the wrong place. Let's quickly go over the agenda in minutes. Let's start with the agenda. We've got 9 items on here. Any changes to the agenda?
I had asked to go at the beginning because I was hoping to get over to Jennings' retirement, but for several reasons that looks unlikely, so I'm happy to go later in the program so that our guests can be taken care of. So thank you for accommodating me, but it's not necessary at this time.
Okay, so we'll switch you back to 7 o'clock. I also would like to add a brief agenda item for 10 minutes. We have someone here from Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon. They'd like to present to us the resolution to City Council. So I would like to move that to after public comment, if the folks are okay with that. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Great. Second by Rick. Closely followed by Councilor Sample.
I'm just so
close. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, motion passes. Okay, folks, moving along here. We've got minutes review. Maybe we'll take a minute or two to just review the minutes. For those of you who haven't had a chance to take a look at them yet.
We have 2, because there was no quorum for the June.
Do we have a quorum
We have 2 sets
today?
of minutes. We do have quorum today.
I appreciate the format that we're using that's more succinct instead of verbatim, but they were really good minutes, and I appreciate it.
There's 2 sets.
The September agenda has, minutes has several attachments, because it includes all the items of the work plan.
Great. Maybe we'll start with the June minutes. Any additions or changes folks want to make to June minutes? I think most of us here were there.
We actually don't have a quorum
Again,
for the June. But the 3 new commissioners were not that.
Oh, right, quorum for that one.
Quorum for the June.
Okay, so we'll punt off the
But we-
June.
do we have quorum now?
We do have quorum now.
We
but-
have quorum for this meeting.
But then
But
folks.
not enough people who were at June to
Yeah,
say
to say that
good or
they're
bad.
there. I mean, you could
Got it.
approve them, but it was gonna be weird if you weren't there.
And I wasn't there, so.
Okay, so
I'm an
we'll punt
abstainer.
that off one more month, and let's move on to the September meeting minutes. Any changes to that one?
Looks good to me. Good
Okay.
job, Fabio, on the reporting.
I like the minutes.
Great. Make a motion to approve the September meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion to.
I move to approve.
Abraham.
Oh, did you do it?
Yeah.
I can't see you.
What she
That's
was-
why, you go ahead.
What
I'm
she
just
was
when I
about to
don't
say.
hear anybody, I'm like, okay, move
Move
it.
to approve the September minutes
Motions.
as they are.
Second, someone?
I'll second.
Second by Amanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain since I was not at September meeting. Great. That's out of the way. Okay, public comment. We've got a couple public comments here. So just a reminder to the folks who came to public comment that we usually don't discuss or make decisions immediately on issues that are brought to us, but we do like to follow up with folks as needed, and if you have other questions or concerns or comments after you give public comment, please direct those questions to Fabio, or you could shoot us an email after the meeting. So we have two folks who signed up for public comment. First, we have Beatriz Hernandez. Come on up.
So my name is Beatrice Hernandez, and I work at the Police Auditor's Office for the City of Eugene. And if you could pass those along. And I'm just here to share, maybe Fabio has touched on it a little bit, but the Human Rights Office and our office is collaborating to do a public safety forum on November 6th. This is the third time that we hold this event, and the second time that we collaborate with the Human Rights Office. And I just wanted to let you guys know, in case you're affiliated with any organizations that you think would be good for me to either go drop off flyers or just make announcements to let the community know. And I apologize if they're in Spanish, but I can read to you what's on here. It's essentially a public safety forum from 6 to 8 on November 6th. It's at Cesar Chavez Elementary. And we will have, it's a 2-hour event, so the first hour we'll have tabling from around 25 community organizations. We'll have food, childcare, raffle prizes for families. And then the second hour, we transition to a Q&A session from specific departments. So we'll have the Chief of Police there. We will have Eugene Springfield Fire, Victim Services of Lane County, CAUSA, and Catholic Community Services. So this is just an opportunity for the Spanish-speaking population in Eugene and the greater area to come to a safe place to either voice concerns or just receive information about public safety and other community resources available to them. So we are excited to continue to hold these types of events. We have a Facebook event that we're trying to share, and it's just about informing the community that we're doing this so that we get a great turnout and we continue to make these types of events happen. So I appreciate the time to share with you guys about this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Michael Gannon.
Hi, I'm Michael Gavin. I thank you all for being volunteers to oversee some of the human rights issues in this community. I've been active with the Homeless Working Group, HWG, and over the years I've brought a few issues to that group about different agencies, and particularly the transit district and the library, because I use them both frequently and I see a lot of things happening in those places that I don't think are appropriate. And the question of whether to call for further inquiry is hampered because I don't really know what maybe the rules are. But it strikes me that the Human Rights Commission should have a record of the protocols that are followed by the library or the LTD for different incidents. Because I've seen some pretty sad situations, and they're not necessary, and I don't think it speaks well of the community that those things are happening. I've seen 2 different people with mental health issues be surrounded by cops in spite of them maybe crying. At least one person cried in one incident. And I took some photographs. I really couldn't figure out where to push them. And I didn't really want I'm kind of an activist myself, so I didn't want to get too deeply involved in trying to put myself into their like the transit situation. But it seems to me that there should be on file in our human rights office down the hall that's the most current statement that LTD has about how it handles different issues. And the same could be said for the library. I was in the library last week when a young person, maybe in their mid-20s, came wandering through and looked disheveled, and then sat down and stared, and then walked around again, and then sat down and stared again. And the second time when he sat down, there were 3 police officers who entered the big reading room. And then there was the security guard for the library, and there was the library staff person. And they were all there. And I thought myself, when I saw the person, and I could have been a good Samaritan and asked him what the problem was and maybe be able to help him figure it out. But I don't know if that's I can't, as a tax-paying citizen, I'm not excited to see 3 expensive police officers called in to do something that I could have done myself and I would think a library staff member could do. But if they're gonna go to that extent to deal with it, I want us to be able to look at it and see if they're following the rules and doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Thank you. Okay, is anyone else wanting to do public comment today? Okay. Chelsea, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Jennings and I'm the Field Director for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon. I am here tonight on behalf of one of the many organizations that has signed on as a partner to NARAL Pro-Choice Oregon's resolution for the city of Eugene to file amicus briefs in opposition to state abortion bans. I have the most current copy of the resolution for everyone to have if you want to pass those around. We have seen a rash of abortion bans since 2011. Over 400 near abortion bans have tried to be passed across the country. And just this year, Alabama passed a near total abortion ban. Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, Ohio, and Georgia passed 6-week heartbeat bans. And Missouri passed an 8-week ban. And Utah and Arkansas have passed 18-week bans. And I think that for many folks here in Oregon, they think that the issue of reproductive rights and abortion is a settled issue, when the reality is that it's not. We have to remain vigilant in the fight for access to reproductive health care, including abortion. Just this last year, anti-abortion extremists tried to pass Measure 106, which would have been a backdoor ban on abortion here in the state of Oregon. I was actually the field director for the No Cuts to Care, No on Measure 106 campaign during that time. That campaign, we actually received the most votes on the ballot and won by a really staggering amount. So I think it's safe to say that, overwhelmingly Oregonians support the right to health care and they support the right to an abortion. And overwhelmingly across the country, over 70% of Americans support the right to an abortion as well. It's important that when we see these attacks on our basic fundamental human rights that we stand in solidarity. And when there's an attack on somebody in another state, it's not just the issue of that state, it's an issue for all of us to stand up and fight back against those attacks on basic human rights. And abortion is healthcare and healthcare is a human right. The city of Eugene, by standing up against abortion bans, would be sending a message to the rest of the country that we won't go back and will remain a sanctuary to access the full range of reproductive health care. In 2017 alone, 844 individuals came to the state of Oregon to be able to access abortion care. They came from out of state and neighboring states to try and access that care. So Lane County and the state of Oregon are really seen as a sanctuary to be able to access that type of care. And in a time where we could be seeing, Roe v. Wade rendered virtually meaningless, it's important that the city take a stand and say that we're not going to stand for this. So I'm here this evening to ask the Human Rights Commission to vote to sign on to this resolution. Right now, this resolution is being carried by Councilor Surratt. Right now, it's slated to be up for a vote at the City Council meeting on October 28th. That is still somewhat tentative, but I've been asked to have all of you sign on to this, and if you were able to, at that October 28th meeting, have a representative from this commission come and speak on behalf of this resolution, or sign on to a letter along with other supportive organizations such as the Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon that I'm part of. And on behalf of our organization and NARAL Pro-Choice Oregon, we just want to thank you so much for all of the time that you take to volunteer for this commission and all the wonderful work that you do for the city of Eugene. I am a Eugene resident. I live here in the Whitaker, and I'm really pleased to be here tonight and that you invited me all to speak with you all. So thank you all so much, and I am available right now for questions if you have any.
So it's difficult to vote on something that I haven't read. So just want you to know that I usually like to digest something before I feel like I'm throwing my full vote. So it's not just a token support. The support is there already, but it's nice to read something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was asked to come in yesterday to come in today, so thank you for the kind of short notice for me being here. So I absolutely understand you want to read it beforehand.
Is there any history that such amicus brief filings have made a difference in legal challenges anywhere across the country?
There is, and I don't have that data in front of me, but we can actually recently look to the city of Portland actually just passed the same resolution, and the result thus far has been very positive, and it has come as a result of other positive outcomes from other cities being able to file these briefs. I don't have that data right in front of me, but the reasoning behind NARAL Pro-Choice Oregon bringing this forward across cities across Oregon is because if there were to be a situation where Roe v. Wade were rendered essentially meaningless, or if we were to see any type of further bans try to be enacted here in Oregon, this essentially gives more oomph to any legal proceedings that would come forward as a result of that. Is this an actual vote? Do we need a motion or?
I just want to see if questions,
Oh.
folks have questions first, and I'm gonna make a motion.
Was the text of this resolution patterned off of the Portland resolution?
It was, yes. Very similarly.
Is that the same as what the city council is getting? Are they
Yeah.
voting on the same?
This resolution that you have in front of you has some edits, but it is what has been, it's the most recent version of what's been sent to city council and the mayor.
So I just want to give folks a little bit of more background on this. In the fall, we had several terrible ballot measures. One of them, you all remember being 105 against our sanctuary status, and then 106, as Chelsea mentioned, being a backdoor ban on abortion. And the ACLU of Oregon opened a field office in Lane County, invested heavily in making sure that 105 and 106 did not pass. So Chelsea, myself, some other folks worked really hard to make sure that 105 and 106 didn't pass. I made it clear, right? We made it clear that Oregon voters made it clear that neither of those were to pass in Oregon. So this for NARAL and Planned Parenthood is another safety net, right? And also an affirmation of our values as a city. So my recommendation and my motion to you all would be that we sign on to the list of endorsers for this resolution, that we send at the very least a letter of support to city council, and that if someone is available on the Human Rights Commission to go and read a statement to council on the 28th, that we do so. Any discussion before we take it to a vote?
I just, it's more of a comment, but I like the language, using person instead of woman. I definitely support that, and I think that's great. And if we wrote a letter, I would want to make sure we write it with the same sort of language.
Thank you for that.
Anyone else? I made a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ella. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you very much for your time.
Before we move on, who would like to take a stab at a first draft for city council?
Do we have any sample letters?
I'm sure we can work with Planned Parenthood, and I think we have some stuff lying around we can send you.
I'd be happy to help. I have not
Sure.
yet written a letter.
Yeah, we have some stuff lying around. We can
Okay. Okay.
I
can help with
actually
that.
have a draft here. I happen to have it.
My,
If it's
you are
helpful.
prepared.
Excuse my highlights, those were things that I was using for this presentation, but this is essentially the template letter that we have been offering individuals that you all are more than welcome to use.
take a look at that, take a look
Okay.
at what we've done in the past, the city council, and we'll try to workshop something that's workable.
Okay.
I'm on that. Let's make it possible to records and they send it to you by email.
Sure.
Okay. EPD liaison.
I'd be happy to help
Lieutenant
you
Marcus Pope.
Cool.
with that, Amanda, if you want a second set of eyes on it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really helpful.
Provided with you folks with the HRC quarterly report here. If you want to follow along with me, I'll kind of give you the highlights of what we're going to be looking at. On page 1, this is the annual bias crime totals from 2014 through 2018. This is a year worth of data here, and so you'll notice that 2019 is not included on there yet. But through today, we're at 45 bias crimes for 2019. And so just down to from 2018, you'll see they're typically in the mid 40s with 2017 kind of being that extremely high year. The page after that is our bias crimes by quarter. This is broken up through quarters 1 through 3. So January through March, April through June, and July through September. There's no real pattern here for why you'll see spikes at certain times. Obviously, quarter 3 in 2019, you'll see we had 20 for quarter 3 reported crimes versus if you look through other quarters through 2018, 2017, 16, 15, and 14, there's no real pattern that we can establish here. A good chunk of the crimes that occurred during quarter 3, a lot had to do with criminal mischief, vandalism, for group graffiti type incidents. Some actually occurred at middle school, surprisingly. The following page, you'll see bias crime activity by month through the quarters, January through September. Outliers are listed in blue. Again, there's no real pattern here for why these occur. For quarter 3, August was the high month at 8. The other 2 months were at 6. And on the final page, if you can look, it's a year-to-date comparison. This is for January through September. Again, 2019 for the quarter, we're at 43. We've had 2 since the new quarter began in October. Again, they all kind of sit in that mid-range there, kind of spaced out evenly throughout the year. 2016 and 2017 being the 2 outstanding months there. And through quarter 3, again, we saw a lot, again, continuing with the criminal mischief. 6 different bias crimes reported through criminal mischief, several through assault and domestic violence, several through harassment and disorderly conduct, and several through intimidation. So, do you have any questions based on what I've provided you here?
Is there any breakdown on as to which marginalized communities were targeted in these incidents?
There isn't a breakdown through that. I could get that from our crime analysis folks. I am provided with all the reports that I go through. I did not bring that with me today, though.
Yeah.
I can bring it next month if you'd like.
My thought was it's just another way to slice the data that might show some patterns that wouldn't come out just with a time-based count.
Absolutely. I will bring that with me next month.
Other questions?
Could you give me some examples of what intimidation is?
Sure. Intimidation is a crime committed against somebody based on the perceived perception of the suspect that they belong to a certain group. So you see a lot with a lot of this occurring with what people perceive based on race or different protected classes.
So is it speech?
Speech, yes.
So
Associated with a crime.
okay, so intimidation is with another crime. Is it a crime on its own?
Yes, it is a crime on its own, but it typically is associated with like assault or disorderly conduct or harassment.
Name calling, berating.
I'm sorry?
Name calling, berating, all that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So what changes it to intimidation is because it's against a certain group of people?
It's the perception of the suspect.
I'm confused, but I won't take a bit more time.
Any other questions?
Oh yeah, is it possible to see the next month too, the data by neighborhood? Do you want to break it down
Sure.
that way by geographical area?
And every quarter, we do
Yeah.
get a more in-depth.
Oh, you, okay.
We do get a
Okay.
more in-depth record of this data. They give us a map and a bunch of other stuff as well.
Oh, okay.
We'll
So I
probably
can,
get that.
yeah, I can wait until then.
But this
That's
is the
fine.
quarterly
Okay.
report.
This is a quarterly report. Well, we've gotten in the past.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I would be interested,
Like this is the quarterly.
I would be
report.
interested to see further breakdown of data by neighborhood, by targeted community as well.
Actually,
And I
the data
guess-
by neighborhood is super small. When we.
There are lots of neighborhoods, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
even for the annual hate and bias reported report, when we slice by neighborhood, it doesn't make much sense.
Okay.
But citywide, right? you
Yeah,
can-
we can
they
see like
right,
regions of the
dots.
city, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, it does, wouldn't have, I mean, for my, what I was thinking, it wouldn't have to be by neighborhood, it
a
could be
heat
by
map.
region, yeah, mm-hmm.
As
Yeah.
we have some information as of today about the groups, you asked about which groups have been most affected, and African American community members are the most affected, despite being just 1.7% of the population. The second group, because of the swastika's case, the Jewish community, the second one.
And violent crimes typically occur against black folks in the highest concentration. Anything else for Lieutenant Pope? I want to make sure he gets out of here at reason.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. Support request, NAMI. We have someone here from NAMI, or is it just in paper form? Okay, just paper form. Pages on.
So there's the budget first. Page 24.
Page 24.
All right.
So it looks like they're having an annual holiday dinner fundraiser on December the 12th at Valley River Inn, and they're requesting $100 from us.
So can you tell us where you're looking in the packet? I'm sorry.
Page
It
25.
looks like that's
25,
the-
yeah.
next to the budget.
Oh, okay. I'm just getting the right packet.
The right, far right corner, the page number.
Okay, I'll
Top
find
right
it.
corner.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, so we usually look at the budget, see how much money is available, and then we consider the support request.
Have we given money to anything? yet this
We
year?
gave
Transponder.
one transponder last
Right.
meeting.
It was kind of a similar event also at a gala or dinner.
Yeah,
So,
the request is for $100.
Yeah, the request is small and doesn't require an agency member to be present.
I move that we support this request for
I
NAMI.
second that.
Do they say what they're gonna do with it? I
Oh,
don't
well.
see, they just go into
It's
the.
just extra.
I think it just goes into,
Donation.
it seems like it goes into the general fund of the
Yeah,
event.
I think it's like a support donation.
Yeah, just support donation.
And they already have some substantial corporate sponsorship.
Yeah. Any other discussion before we get to vote?
I'm fine with it, but I would prefer to give money for something that has, you know, we've given it for advertising or sign language. But this makes it feel like it's just a donation to the organization. And I'm a little uncomfortable with that, not that I wouldn't like to give them money, but I feel that as a commission, we might want to be a little more careful about what's happening with the money. I trust them, I just think as a rule of how we do things, that would be good information. But I definitely support NAMI, and I would vote for this.
I agree. It's a little wonky to me that there isn't a budget attached or something like that.
Okay.
And the other thing that I would recommend too is that if we're giving, I'm assuming that this is a, pay to, an event that people are paying to attend. And if our
It's a
donation would
fundraiser.
be sponsoring somebody to be able to get into the door that normally wouldn't be able to do that, then I would attach that.
So how about this?
There is some information on page 27.
Yeah.
They added that there is a volunteer of the year
The
award,
Volunteers.
and there is an award for a police officer.
Yeah.
Also.
Great. So
So
here's what I
there's more
suggest.
specific information on that
I'd like to
page.
make
Yeah.
a friendly amendment to both of your motions, or rather, to move this vote for next meeting and provide Nami an opportunity to come back with us with a more specific ask.
Yeah, this event is in December. so
Yeah, it's in December, so they can come back in November.
I accept your friendly amendment.
Okay,
All good.
great. So I don't think we need to.
Do we need
I
a
don't-
motion
I
to
don't-
table this for
I
next?
think we could just table it. Okay, yeah, okay.
And Fabio will reach out to
Yes.
ask them for a
Yeah,
budget
just
or
like that.
something more specific, other than the award they're
Mhm.
talking about for the police officer.
Sweet. Okay, next we have International Human Rights Day. So, as of right now, so just a little bit of background for new commissioners. Every year, it's the responsibility of the Human Rights Commission to host an event for International Human Rights Day. We've done so the last couple of years. Last year, I would say, is probably the biggest one we've done, at least since I've been on the commission. We had a great event that was organized by Ibrahim and Bonnie and other commissioners as well that put a lot of heart and soul in making a great event. We had it at Churchill High School. There was food. There was some dances and presentations and art that happened in the auditorium at Churchill High School. Mayor Vinnis spoke. I had a chance to make a little address to the community, and really it was a great opportunity for us to sit down with community members, interact with them, have a little food, a little bit of fun. But yeah, it was a great event last year. So this year, our responsibility is to try to do something again. It usually falls in the month of December. So there's a variety of things we could do this year. There's been years in which we've done something really small. There's been years we've been gone all out. But ultimately, it's up to commissioners and how much energy they have to put into organizing an event like this. So we'll kick it off with that and see what folks are thinking, or if they have any questions.
Well,
Please,
Oh,
go ahead.
Is there a budget?
I mean, we
Or is there any
have,
money?
It's part of the work
part
plan.
of our work plan.
So
Okay.
the outreach and education committee can request
Yeah.
amount of money for the event.
Okay.
yeah, and last year was the 70th anniversary of the signing of the International Declaration of Human Rights, and the WeCU work group chose to take on that biggest event ever at Churchill High School, and
Yes.
WeCU will not
Not this
be
year.
doing that this year.
a lot of work.
So whatever it is will need to be small. I believe it is December 11th is a Tuesday.
December 10th.
And
10th is a Tuesday, because last time we had it on the 9th, which was Sunday.
Mhm. So one of the things that I think we could possibly do is the Western State Center, which some of you may recall, were the folks that help us put together our resolution condemning white nationalism and white supremacy, have partnered in the past with a group called Not Here, Not Ever. They do and I'll send this out to Fabio so you can send it out to you all as well, but they have a traveling exhibit of instances of hate and bias things, and also it's an exhibit of how folks have resisted throughout the decades against this type of activity. So one of the things we were thinking about in I was chatting with them, with the mayor's possibility of them coming to Eugene to do this exhibit, and having it be hosted in the month of December, in which we could try and have the opening be in collaboration and try to time it right so that it falls on International Human Rights Day. That's if, of course, they're available
Yeah.
to come out, but I think that would be
That sounds cool.
I like that idea.
the lowest,
Yeah.
right? Like, it would fall on
Yeah.
them, and then we could do it with the mayor, with us, but I think that would be our best choice, unless folks really want to take on a big party.
What's the space you're thinking of in terms of hosting the exhibition though? Because that's usually really, really,
And that's what,
The biggest
I think
challenge.
that's what we'd have to figure out, is exactly if we have the space for it, but I wanted to bring it to you all first, just to get like a nod, and then we can begin the process of trying to contact them, see if they're available that date, all that good stuff. But,
sounds cool.
so yeah, if other folks have other thoughts or comments on that.
I know that, I think City of Springfield and some community members in Eugene there's a few people who are artists who are either taking photos of folks who are immigrants and sharing their story, or
Mhm.
they're painting things with their
Oh,
home.
right.
There's like two different kind of streams there that we could fill that into in a similar theme.
But I'm getting the sense that in general, folks don't have a ton of capacity to like really take it on and put on something really big.
You're very perceptive,
Okay.
Bill.
Good, just wanted to make sure.
Having a work group do that event in the future
Yes.
is a great idea, because there's a lot of more folks who are around the table to do the work, but it sounds like this year, it's not the 70th anniversary, we could do something that's more modest.
Sure.
I would like maybe all of us to think about how in the future, if our homelessness and poverty work group is interested in theming the International Human Rights Day around housing as a human right,
Sure.
that would be an interesting thing to think about. Maybe not for this year again, because we're already in the end of October,
Mhm.
but for next year, and that could be a goal to work towards.
Sounds great.
That's a good idea, I like that.
Last year, the theme was the welfare of the child, or
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah, it
was
focusing on
child.
children,
So-
on the rights of children.
Right. So I'm not sure if this year has a theme, and it'd be good if it does have a theme
I'm gonna go
for us
with
to
it.
adhere to that and magnify it. I think for this community, magnifying homelessness and that issue would be an awesome, to bring homelessness into the human right a lens would be a really good thing. And, I don't know what the international theme is. Maybe Joel is already looking it up.
Last year, the theme was Let's Stand Up for Equality, Justice, and Human Dignity. So last year, the
Was-
International Human
was
Rights
that-
Day theme, or was
was
that in
that, well-
2018?
Yeah, maybe that was the year before.
Yeah, no, last year, the theme was the rights of children.
Yeah, it was.
Was children's rights, human rights.
Right.
Not according to the
Hmm.
internet. Maybe we picked it as our theme. It's
Eugene,
totally
it was.
fine.
Or was that, or you mean some other
So this
group that,
No, this is just like an international human rights.
oh, okay, yeah, no,
Yes.
yeah, oh, okay. Yeah.
Internationally, so this 2019 is the year of indigenous languages promoting and deepening a human rights culture. Well, I guess every country picks their own theme.
Yeah,
Scratch that.
we definitely can pick our own
I
theme.
feel like that, yeah.
But
Can I just
it's
ask how long it took We See You, like
good.
collectively, to put on a big event?
How many meetings upon meetings upon meetings we had? 2-3 months of planning?
Let's see, we started in earnest in September, though I think we had a subcommittee that actually started some of the planning in August.
Yeah, I know we had at least a dozen meetings.
Yeah, and we had, in addition to our monthly work group meeting, we had every other week, a subcommittee that would plan more of the details and then present things. So it was a pretty intensive effort that began in September.
I mean, I appreciate, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, I appreciate the conversation about the homelessness work group taking something on next year, but December is our cold month. And it's the beginning of the cold month, and it's the beginning of the time that people are really fighting to stay alive on the streets and warm. And I wouldn't want to do something that took away from the work that we were trying to do, but that's also a work group decision, so. So that.
So in that case, before we move on from this topic, I do think even if we do go with doing the not here, not ever folks coming down doing an exhibit, we still would need at least 1 or 2 point people from the Human Rights Commission. Someone like to volunteer or be voluntold to take on this task?
Will you say which working group did you say this was assigned to, and who's on that one? I didn't bring my
Education
papers
and
with me.
outreach group.
It's you.
And I think
You're on it.
that's what I was wondering.
You signed up for everything.
Rick and me are on that group
Yeah.
too.
I mean, it seems to me that if we could have something that was a bit more plug and play, and all that needed to be done was
A little
to,
bit of coordination.
a little bit of coordination of finding the venue and maybe organizing a small reception on the day itself. And it can be very light.
Very good. So who's on that work group?
Rick is the lead. And the supporting members are Ella, Hamid, Amanda, and Ibrahim
So
Koulibaly.
everyone.
Both Eves?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so both the, so in the meantime, I guess what I'll do is, I'll send over the website to Fabio and the rest of you all, so you can take a look at it, and then, talk to Eve about starting to get the ball rolling on getting in contact with them. I'll send out an initial email, with Fabio and both Eves, and we'll go from there. Sound good? Okay. Really quickly, are there folks right now that I would like for everyone to be there if possible? So I'm gonna try to be there the 10th. Is there anyone who can't be there that day or has travel plans, just so we don't know?
Tuesday's a lot
That's a
better for me than
Tuesday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Great.
And I think the only thing that might coincide with is the civil review board.
So they're reward.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I go to, but
Sounds good.
I can
Well, we'll
skip
try to do it in
that.
the afternoon, 5:30 or something, 6 o'clock.
If it's after 5, it should be fine for me too.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, folks. HRC work groups and liaison updates. I'm not sure if we had a conversation about it last time because I wasn't here, but I will no longer be the liaison for the police commission. I think there was someone here who was interested in doing this.
Amanda.
It was Amanda.
Amanda.
Great.
It's
Just wanted to
always
double check.
Amanda.
Amanda's like,
Talk about
Amanda's the one this year to take on all the tasks. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that
You're on my
that was clear since I wasn't here last time. I'll let folks take it away.
Well, this is work groups.
Or
updates,
groups
so-
liaisons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk about both MUFTI and
Sure.
the Civil Review Board. So, the MUFTI work group, I guess, for lack of a better description, has had their annual meeting last month. That's the meeting when, topics around how could the MUFTI program be improved are discussed and brought to the attention, and just some general timelines around implementation of the MUFTI for a current project, which one of the MUFTI projects is the Gordon Loft, which is part of the Fifth Street Market extension, and that will be evaluated in January, so we are meeting in January, because it's halfway through construction, and that's where they evaluate sort of the proposal that was brought and approved by the city council, and the MUFTI board has to evaluate whether that was actually fulfilled and how that implementation is happening. So that was a good meeting, standard meeting. And then last Tuesday, for the first time, I attended the Civil Review Board. That was my first time there. It was a meeting that was, I think, one of their first meetings, so they were doing things like collecting chairs and liaisons to the Human Rights Commission, and I believe there is someone here today that potentially will be a liaison to the Human Rights Commission. I don't know if you wanted to maybe introduce yourself.
Michael Hinters here.
So the case that the Civil Review Board was reviewing was, I think they reviewed it in September already, and this was kind of like a secondary review, so I came in with not all the information, but it was around someone who was stopped. Well, they called the police because of a situation they observed in the neighborhood, and then actually the police ended up being really interested in the person who called the police on something else. So it was an interesting way, and I definitely learned a lot, and good luck on the police commission. It was a great meeting. I'm new to all the terms and how they talk about it. It seems like a really good process in general. There's some really good comments from the board members, so yeah, but it was kind of a very general discussion, so.
Great. Any questions for Laura? Other folks have updates on work groups or liaison positions?
So I can talk about police commission. I did attend the meeting. We had quite a bit of public comment, and I think the thing that was striking to me about the public comment at that meeting was that it was all focused on housing, homelessness, struggles of people who are unhoused. And I thought that was striking. I mean, I think like we were speaking, they all spoke about how it's getting colder. This is becoming, sort of a scary emergency. And then we talked a lot about the right-of-way ordinance that the city of Eugene's been working on. So this is the ordinance that allows property owners to call law enforcement if folks are camping on the strip between the sidewalk and the street. So we spent a lot of time talking about this, and folks had a lot of questions about it. Let's see. Just different things that we talked through, like it is strictly complaint driven, and only the property owner themselves can file the complaint. It does not create any obligation for the property owner to file the complaint, but it is an option if they don't want folks camping on their strip. They can call that in. So far they've had one arrest related to this, but it was a person had a warrant when the police came to ask them to move on. They actually had a warrant. So talked quite a bit about that, and then the chief gave his report and spoke about the various citations in the area around, what were they? Around illegal camping. So we talked through that, and then we had 4 items on the agenda that we did not have quorum, so we weren't able to talk about, that we will talk about next time, which was more about the illegal camping recap, diversity, equity, and inclusion discussion, and our community outreach update. So the meeting ended a little short.
Great.
And, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing to add. They also talked a lot about a training project. The chief spoke about a training project that they're working on for EPD, for new police officers, and so they're going to present the changes they're making there to our group later on, but they're working on making some full-time trainers who do nothing but train new police officers. And then he also spoke about part of the money that they've had for Cahoots, for the Cahoots budget, has been a 1-year funding source, and they're looking at making that stable, ongoing funding source, so you don't have to ask for it every year. So, and that's all I have for our police commission.
Thank you.
I want to make sure I understand the Housing Policy Board liaison, because for some reason, I think there were a couple of other commissioners that were going to be on that volunteered to be liaisons, and I'm having heard the report.
And Serena is the
Right.
liaison, and I'm a backup to that.
And so she's not here, so.
And I don't think
Okay.
she attended the meeting.
All right. Well, and you didn't go because you didn't.
She didn't ask me to.
All right. I have a feeling that sort of fell through the cracks. So.
I'll check in with her and see if she
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
support with that. I did attend, which is a subcommittee of the Housing Policy Board, the Renters Protection Subcommittee.
Mhm.
And they're just getting started, so we just went over, we have presentations from a number of agencies in the community that are dealing with low-income housing and trying to get folks housed. So it was a pretty informative meeting. Your group was there.
Mhm.
And yeah. Catholic community, charities, St. Vincent de Paul, just a number of organizations that were there just to kind of get people grounded in what they do and the services that are available right now. So that was pretty much the whole meeting.
I have a report from the WCU work group. We discussed the liaison position. The city is considering posting a job description, a job posting without the full job description. We expressed concern, some concern that the language of that posting might exclude people of color, for example, degrees or amount of community organizing experience. And so
Daniel, you're talking about the Multicultural Center.
no, I'll get to that. That's next item, but.
Okay.
What's the title?
Oh, this is for the multicultural liaison
Yeah,
position
that's-
that was just approved.
Yeah.
And each department has its own hiring process, and so we just expressed a concern that that the posting cast as wide a net as possible for greatest inclusion. We had a report from those of us who are on the Multicultural Center Advisory Committee. There is a draft survey that's available online, and so I sent out a link to WCU members to go on and take the survey and to get their feedback. Once the survey is made public, all of that test survey will get deleted. So that's really on the members of the work group to follow through on that. We discussed inviting the detectives who are assigned to marginalized communities to our next WCU meeting. However, we found out since that 3 of those 4 detectives are not available on that date, and so we are now in discussion as to how we want to proceed further from here, and that we would also invite HRC members to be included in that meeting. And then the rest of the meeting we spent working on our work plan and getting that finalized for the work group, and that's included in here.
I do have a point of information for the position. I had a chance to chat with Jen
I'll have that on that page.
You have it?
Position
Okay,
description, so
great.
you can
So
see
he's
that.
gonna go over it.
Okay.
Someone from the homelessness work group can report.
Do you want to?
I don't have any notes, but.
I didn't bring my notes. Let's see, the group.
The notes are in the packet.
Oh,
Let me just press over.
It's right after that Jewish Federation,
Oh.
the dark one. Yep, one more page.
The folks already have in their
That's
packet.
right after
Yeah.
that.
Just want to review those another time, but if there's any topic stuff that you don't want to, think we should know about, we could.
I'm sorry, what?
I was gonna say, we can all read the notes, but if there's something in particular you remember about the meeting that you attended, it'd be great for us to hear about it. If not, we should move on.
I think the only, well, I don't know, I mean, I guess I would think the most noteworthy thing was the group made a motion to accept Counselor Simple's apology and was passed unanimously. I think that's worth pointing out. But otherwise, yeah, everything else, I mean, it's all in the notes.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
It looks like I'm back up to the TVL group, but it sounds like it conflicts with Daniel's schedule, so I should need, yes?
I don't know, what's,
It's the Sustainability Committee meeting.
oh, okay, I didn't realize the TBL and that was,
I didn't
Trip and
either.
bottom line.
oh, I knew TBL was triple bottom line, I didn't realize that was under the Sustainability Commission.
So it conflicts with your,
They are separate. So
They're
TBL, they are
separate.
called on when there's a project that needs a review using the TBL tool. So there is no standing meeting.
Okay,
Those are called based on need.
okay, got it, and I'm not available for this next one.
right. Okay. So just for the next one.
It depends if they continue to schedule them on Wednesdays, that could be difficult for me.
Yeah. Is it do you know if it's a Wednesday meeting? The meeting with Chelsea that you connected Daniel and I to Chelsea Clinton?
I didn't get information about the meeting. Did she invite you for a TBL meeting or for the Sustainability Commission
I
meeting?
think the Sustainability Commission.
Those will be separate. Maybe she
Okay.
just invite you to get to know that group and what they're doing. The TBL
Okay.
meetings are scheduled when there is a project that
Okay.
requires TBL
I misunderstood.
review.
Sorry.
Okay.
Good? Okay. Human rights, anyone else? Sorry. Human rights are involvement.
We have a list of updates. So you have a single information some events. First, there is a Jewish Federation dinner on October 27th. We have 2 spots available for the HRC. So if you are interested in attending, please let me know and we can select 2 people to participate. There is a request from Mind Freedom Oregon. They want to table at the Human Rights Day event. So if there is, in terms of what we organize with events, they want to be involved. And there's also an invitation from the Opal Network for an event on October 29th. It's at the Trauma Healing Project. And it's a music, art, poetry for empowerment and mental health. It's on October 29th, 3:30 to 5:30. And I'd like the HRC members to attend the event. It's a free event. In your pocket, we have a letter that was submitted to our office. It was about the last HRC meeting, the comments made by Councilor Sample. And it was a letter in support of her work that someone came and delivered to us. at the
What
day.
page is that on?
Page 31st.
31.
Okay, 31, this guy, the handwritten
Yeah.
one, okay.
And the information about the Jewish Federation dinner is on page 30 for those who are interested
Yeah.
in attending. And the letter is on page 31st. So okay, those were the events, and you already received information about the Community Safety Forum in Spanish. We will send more updates via email. We have now more up-to-date information about the multicultural liaison position. So I'll pass this as well. So we are sharing a draft job description. And the goal is to get feedback from the commission on some pieces of this job description. So just as an FYI, all job descriptions are considered working job descriptions, and they can be changed based on need. So what doesn't change so often is the classification of the position, but the tasks and what people are assigned to in the city, that can be changed, and that's an internal decision in the city manager's office. We are seeking feedback from the HRC on content and context. We are not asking line by line edits to the text, but to the overall idea of the position the posting. The primary focus is to get input on critical process of outreach and recruitment, because that has been a point that the group has made, especially the WCU group, that we make this process as inclusive as possible so we can get someone who would be a good representative of the community. The position has been classified as a management analyst, 1 or 2. The reason for doing this is that it allows for the type of professional that the groups have been telling us they want in this position. So at the original classification, that would require more education, more formal education, and that would limit the number of people who would be able to participate. It would also include 5 years of professional experience working in this type of position in a city government. So that would limit a lot of people from the community. So the management analyst position is more flexible. A decision has been made to have this person inside the HRNI office. And the reason here is to better coordinate with the outreach work that HRNIs are doing, and for this person not to be isolated. Because when you have a single person office, there's not much that the person can do. So this would increase the capacity of HRNI, and there will be better coordination. So we have now, instead of 3 staff working on equity and inclusion, we will have 4 full-time staff doing that kind of work. There is commitment from city leadership that this person would have a standing meeting with the leadership to update on what is going on and the outreach that's being done to different communities. The main point that we are seeking support from the commission is regarding recruitment. So about places and groups that should be reached out during the recruitment stage. Also ideas of how to ensure that marginalized community members who might be interested in this position would be able to get the information and get support and apply. Also, we'd like some questions that we could use in the process. Like if you have an idea of what the ideal candidate would be for this position.
You mean for the interview
what type
process?
of questions, yeah. Because most jobs at HRNI, we have a community panel that interviews the candidates. So it's not required, as Daniel mentioned in his updates. Each city department has different process for hiring. Some just have the standard search committee interview, but at HRNI, most positions we do a community panel interview. So you received the job description with a follow-up email by Jen, and we'd like to get feedback by October 27th. And the idea is that we can post this position by the end of October.
Fabio, is there any, is the information about the salary going to be public, or is it just unknown yet?
The salary is standard. There's a range. It's based on the classification.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
like that's the link there.
So there's a range, and then it can be placed within that range based on the combination of education and skills. That's why it says MA1 or MA2. So there are two salary ranges, and depends on the qualifications of the candidate who is selected.
Fabio, I think one of our one of the concerns of the WCU work group was that if the position were placed in the HR&I office, that it wouldn't carry the weight necessary to be able to coordinate efforts across departments throughout the whole city organization. Is that you mentioned a standing meeting with leadership. Is there anything else that is or could be baked into that position if located in the HR&I office that would help facilitate that interdepartmental coordination?
There is no difficulty in HR&I coordinating across departments. We are actually launching a big project next week, is our pilot. That's something that will cover the entire city workforce. So that support from leadership is already there.
Okay.
And the HR&I is housed in the city manager's office, and they work closely together. So I have no concerns that this person will have access to everyone they need to have access to.
Okay. Yeah, it was just the concern of several of the WCU work group members. Sure.
As someone who works in the separate city manager's office over at Harris Hall and not the one here, if I were going to take this position, I would much prefer to be with the human rights and neighborhood involvement, because the ground level where all this other communication is going to start there, and there's so much information, and you know when you work with someone else how you get more results. And there's not that many people in the city manager's office, and they're all have their own expertise. And I know this sounds like the same thing, but I think that a lot more progress would be made more easily in that office. But it really is part of the city manager's office, even though it's in another building, as we tend to do here. So where the person worked, I doubt would have much effect on their effectiveness for reaching out across departments. I think it's going to be very exciting, and this commission will be happy about it. So,
Yeah.
I talked with Jen today about what Fabio's just shared with us, and so I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, I think
I just had a question about the requirements and the experience, because they are very broad, and I understand that casts a wider net. I guess I'm curious if, and maybe this isn't a valuable thing to put it, but if I was applying for different jobs, if I might be interested to know what kind of training opportunities specific to this position would be accessible to me, or I don't know if any information like that will be included.
That is not usually posted in positions.
These are the questions
Because
you asked in the interview.
yeah, you want to try to get a candidate that would be qualified to perform all the tasks that will be listed in the position. So the training is usually to get to know the city processes or for improvements on something that the city decides to apply after the person has been hired.
Anything
But
else?
other city employee, you can say there's a lot of opportunities for training.
I know.
I think I echo what Daniel was saying, that it was a WCU concern that that person ends up having the city manager's ear. And I think from what you have expressed, it sounds like I'm satisfied also, thinking that that should not be a problem. So, thank you.
Yeah, we have heard from the people who are single-person offices that does this kind of work in different cities, even larger cities, and it's a burden for them because they have no support, they have no capacity, and it's one person to attend to all the communities, to all the events, and it's a lot of work.
And they will get very bored all by themselves, right?
Or burnt out.
Lonely.
A few more updates from us.
Just for one thing, this is a new position that the Budget Committee and the Council approved, and I'm sure that we are going to be looking to make sure it was worth that money, and that means the city manager and mayor will be
Looking over their
involved.
shoulders, yeah. Makes sense.
As you know, we have the MLK Award in January. And we need that committee from the Human Rights Commission to help us organize that and the award. So we have to put up a call for proposals and nominations. And the commission usually is there at the end of the March and give the awards. So I'll need 3 commission members to participate, and our office will support you.
Last year, it was myself, Serena,
I think I was on that.
Ibrahim, both of you. I think that's it.
How does it work? Do people get nominated in the community
Yeah.
or?
Yes.
Okay,
There's
so
a-
you're reviewing nominations
Yeah.
and selecting.
So it usually opens, you know, a certain date, and then I keep it open for a number of weeks, and then we get together and review and score and have a conversation, and ultimately decide on one person.
What's the time frame of when that's?
Pretty fast.
Pretty fast, okay, coming up really quickly, okay.
Yeah. It's not a lot of work,
No,
because you
we
get
do it
the
in one
reviews,
session.
you
Yeah.
can review from home and just send me your scoring.
Yeah.
sheet and it's-
Okay,
it's it.
I'd be happy to
Okay, we
sign
have
up for
3.
that.
Anyone else would like to join?
Okay, would like to go.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's a good.
I think we have a panel.
Yeah. 2, 4, 5.
And just to be clear, everyone, if other folks would like to look at the applications and provide feedback, you can, but ultimately, this group will be the ones. that will
Yeah, I
sit
have
down.
5, so we cannot have more than 5 meetings, so it becomes an HRC meeting. Therefore, so we're limited.
Yes.
Tomorrow, myself and several other city staff are attending the 5th session of the GARE training. I had mentioned before, is the Government Alliance on Racial Equity. And we are working on a 9-month-long training. And at the same time, we are preparing a plan for the city to address racial equity. And the project we decide to focus on is recruitment, hiring, and retention. So by the end of February, we will have a plan that the city will vet and give us probably the go-ahead to implement. This plan that we are doing in partnership with GARE also aligns with our new training program. So we have been working since the time I was hired in developing this new training, and we are piloting it next week. It's a full-day training for city staff. We are going to pilot the first 2 modules next week. After we pilot with city staff, about 30 people have been invited to attend. We want to have a pilot with community members, including the HRC, to get feedback on the training program and see how we can improve it. And then the goal is that it becomes a required training for all City of Eugene staff. They receive this training when they are hired, so the new employee orientation will offer this equity, diverse and inclusion training for all city staff. And the 3rd module is for supervisors. We have identified that most of the conflicts happen because sometimes people advance to supervisory positions and do not have gone through this kind of trainings. So there is an effort to train all supervisors first, and then we start offering to everyone else.
Any other updates?
That's why.
Okay. Before we jump into the October HRC meeting agenda, I wanted to, November, that's right. It's October here. But November HRC meeting agenda, I just wanted to bring up something real quick, just for you all's information. It's not quite baked yet, but I'm not sure if you all saw it, but there was a number of complaints from the creosote plant on Roosevelt, it's J.H. Baxter. And I know the Sustainability Commission is interested in doing more around environmental justice issues. So I haven't had a chance to talk with the chair of the Sustainability Commission, but I wanted you all to know that I will be reaching out to her this week. And her and I are gonna try and sit down and just talk about what possibly we could do, if anything, about not just J.H. Baxter, but some other polluters in our city that have been long-term bad actors. And hopefully we'll have something prepared. Either they're gonna do something, or we'll do something, or we'll do something together. But this is something that's also, I know, on the mayor's mind as well. So I just wanted to let you all know that that's something that I'm going to be paying attention to over this next month or so before our next meeting.
Did you see Lane County Equity Coalition did a whole event around environmental justice or something? Okay, because there was some really good information in there too. And I did see that folks have contacted attorneys.
Oh, yeah, attorneys.
Around the creosote issue too.
Yeah, yep. A lot of this, just as a background, is difficult to do just because it involves a lot with the EPA. And a lot of it's based on state regulations with DEQ. We are one of the last municipalities in the state of Oregon that has our own Lane County, our own regional protection agency. But really, they're kind of an unparalleled power with Oregon DEQ. So a lot of this stuff might be ceremonial, but still there may be opportunities for us to play a leadership role, for folks to at least vent some frustration. So some of the stuff that just to forecast that I was thinking about that we could do that's been done before in other environmental justice issues and other EJ communities has been hosting a listening session, you know, maybe somewhere out in near J.H. Baxter, hosted by Sustainability Commission, Eugene Toxics Board, HRC, right? And we kind of provide a space for folks to come to talk about what they've experienced. Could be a resolution, it could be an ask to the city council to invest resources in the next legislative session when it comes to air protection standards and other bills and ballot measures that are coming up the pike. So there's a number of options we have. It's just a matter of trying to be coordinated with the Sustainability Commission and trying to offer solutions to city council that they can actually enact on. Any questions about that?
Have we ever considered having a liaison to the Toxics Board?
More work?
Just curious.
No, I don't think we've had that conversation before.
Okay.
But something to think about.
Yeah, okay.
Please. Oh. You ready to say something?
You have the.
Mike, do you want council update?
Oh, yes, please. Oh, that's right, because we moved it.
Yes,
We moved it. I'm
That
sorry,
was pretty
Councilor
tricky of me, I
Sutton.
only.
Like, we're not doing one at all.
No more of that.
It's not on the agenda, it's not happening.
Almost off the hook at me. Okay, here we go. I have no remarks this week. Last night, we passed the ordinance on data collection and protection of individuals to include immigration basis. We also passed a climate resolution supporting the youth-led climate strike last month. They will be having future ones, and as we know, the climate change affects all of us, but the marginalized and already suffering even more. So the city's always been on board with this, but yes, we said we were again. We talked about the riverfront update, the Williams and Dane buildings that are coming. They've moved around a little bit. The low income was moved from right by the railroad tracks over more towards the EWeb building, so it'll be a better site actually for that. And all that's still, you know, in the process, but it is still in the process. So we should be able to get different levels of income housing there. We had a work session on short-term rentals or Airbnbs, which I feel applies to this commission because if we have a lot of Airbnbs, we'll reduce our housing stock, and that will make prices go up, which will make it more difficult for people to be housed, and that is the opposite of what I want. We also had our work session on small cell technology, which was well attended. We have had many, many communications. The attorney brought her binder, which I'm not kidding you, is that thick. So we've certainly had a lot of education. It was very frustrating, not just for me, that we really aren't able to do anything right now. We are doing the things we can with other cities talking, it's legal stuff with the state, that we shouldn't have to do it, but it's really controversial for people. We get emails every day about this one, and pictures of poles that went up yesterday and the day before. So I think of all the things that we work on, this is the most confusing, distressing, but not a lot of long-term information. That's not true, there's that binder, but you can watch the work session. It was frustrating. And then, of course, yesterday we had the Human Rights Commission report and work plan, which I thought went very well and was well received. And I'm glad to be part of this group, doing good work that really does help the council to have these eyes, ears, and brains, being aware of the challenges and ways that we might soothe them. Coming up ahead on the 21st, there's a Moving Ahead open house at Harris Hall. Moving Ahead is about the major transit corridors, 99, River Road, Colbert Road. We already have West 11th, and then not MX, but ideas for Centennial. And River Road then also goes up to LCC. They put those two parts together. So there will be displays and information for people to look at, and then after that there's a joint meeting of the council and the Lane County Commissioners. So transportation affects all of us, and I know that people who don't have a lot of money have a lot less choices for their transportation. So this is going to be an important thing to weigh in on. And then on the 23rd, another long-awaited work session on ADUs, which have been so contentious, but the laws from the state make it pretty clear what we can and cannot do. So I'm hoping that we'll finally have some movement. Owner occupancy and requiring parking are not allowed. We can't do that. There are some ways we can mitigate things with what is siting and design, such as how far away from the edge of the lot the building is, or how high, or how much coverage of the land, because people are concerned that big tall buildings taking over the whole yard will affect their livability. So the hope is that if ADUs are built, that there will be more housing, and that will help all income levels. I've been really busy myself. Thursday and Friday I went to the TAC implementation kickoff in Cottage Grove. There were a lot of people there, maybe 50 people from all sorts of, there was electeds, there was a lot of service providers, city and county staff, a lot of service providers, and some homeless. And there was a general feeling there that we do not, and I've heard this from the homeless, that they are not represented on our meetings, and we're not getting all of their input. And I've heard it before, but it was also brought up there that not everybody agrees with every part of the TAC, and that's okay. We get to discuss it, and it's important that we listen to it, because not everybody agrees, and one of the groups we want to listen to the most are the unhoused. There was a big feeling of frustration and lack of progress. I think 2 days and that many people, we thought we were going to come out with a plan and get out of the starting gate and do something, and that didn't happen. But there was a lot of networking and hopefully some coordination and connection. And I think for some people it was valuable just to see the numbers and also get some information about what different groups are doing. Our last breakout session was actually thinking about actions, what we could actually do. I was in the NIMBY group because it was one of the few things I haven't already had a lot of conversations about. I had some frustrations with it. It took 2 whole days, but I think it was an important meeting. I would like it to be more inclusive. We didn't have a lot of business people and a lot of homeless people. And in my work, I've been trying to get those two, I came from all the advocacy friends, and I'm working on making friends with business, because we get both ends talking, that's where we'll really make progress. And this was a lot of service providers, which we really need, and I support them. And then right after that, on Friday night, Daniel was there, I went to the Transponder first annual gala fundraiser, and it was really fun, even though I was tired. It was so nice to be in the energy. It was a good party, and there was just a feeling of comfort. I think everybody felt comfortable, and I got said dress up to be fun, fabulous, and fierce. I think I was like, I can do that. I got out Marigold sequins, and it was very fun. And then the next night, I went to the Nightingale fundraiser at the Vets Club. I did not wear my sequins, but it was still a fun event. Some amazing food from the fish market, and I actually did buy something at the silent auction that I've put off for a long time to get will and power of attorney and all that. So you can follow my example and be responsible. But it was really nice to be able to pay something I needed to pay anyway to such a wonderful organization that's doing the work that this group wants. And then the big change coming up right now is John Reese's retirement party, and his last day is Friday the 18th, which also happens to be his birthday. And starting at 5:01, Sarah Maderi, head of Public Works, will be our acting interim city manager. She's had 23 years of experience with the city, has been assistant manager, city manager. She's run Public Works now. She's been a lot of years in planning. So I think with that experience and her intelligence and calmness, and that I hear the staff really likes her, and I really like her. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity for her to work with all of us. And I'm grateful to the homeless working group for their consideration, and I am sorry that I was so emotional and full of energy at the last meeting. But thank you for accepting my apology. It is with my heartfelt apology. I never planned or expected to cause such a commotion. And maybe there were some good things that came out of it, some conversations. It was not on my bucket list, but I'm happy to cross it off. And thank you all for all of your work. Good job.
Any questions?
Here's your chance.
Great. I also wanted to give a quick update. Yesterday we were asked to give a little address regarding Indigenous Peoples Day, so I did give a brief address to the council. It was well received, except for one city councilor who was not happy with my comments. But I just want to let you know that they were all true concerning Christopher Columbus. We passed this resolution in 2016. Over 100 cities did so yesterday, but I'm glad that we're well ahead of the curve. So it went really great.
I have one comment about that.
Please.
Overheard in the CMO's office at lunch today, talking about last night's meeting, that the next year they'd like to do something more.
We should do
than
something
just,
bigger.
and so they were putting it on their calendars now,
Good.
that for next year we'd like to do not
Something
something
bigger.
huge, but something more, invite some people,
Yeah.
or ask. I didn't hear any ideas, so put on your thinking caps, and let's get that to be more prominent.
Sounds good. Okay.
The meeting with the name?
Oh, right, we had a brief meeting with the mayor too, Rick and I did. It was unexpected. There was half an hour between work session and the regular meeting, so Rick and I had coffee, and Fabio as well had coffee and cookies with the mayor. Discussed a couple ideas. One of them is, again, it's something that's not quite baked yet, but it's something that I've been thinking about. Currently, I think a large portion of our hate and bias crimes that come in have to do with graffiti. And the city does take down hate and bias symbols on public property, but not private property. So one thing that I asked Jen to look into is what would a proposed, how much would it potentially cost for us to offer a service in which the city comes out and removes hate symbols from people's personal and private property? Just because folks go through something like that, and to have them also go through taking it off is another burden. So it's not unprecedented. There's other cities in the U.S. that have done so, but again, it's something that we're looking into, and that's something we talked to the mayor about. She said it was an interesting idea and is receptive to it. I'm trying to think, what else did we talk about? Remember?
That was pretty much it.
That was pretty much it.
Storytelling.
Oh,
right.
right. Do you want to go ahead?
If I remember recalling, we talked about places in the city that represent people of color. So like Ewip, there's a Wiley Griffin Sword Memorial stand, and trying to get more of those around the city so that we have better storytelling about what has happened throughout Eugene's history. So everybody knows about Skinner and all the other folks, but there are also folks of color who contributed to Eugene's history as well. And so trying to find a way to do that.
We talked about in the context that U of O just opened their Black Community Center up at the U of O, and commemorated some of Oregon's first, some of Eugene's first prominent folks from the African American community. But we're just talking how as part of the resolution we just passed around white nationalism, part of the action item was that we would come to terms with some of our past, some of it good, some of it not so good, but some of what we would like to do is to erect more memorial pieces of specific individuals or places or events that are key points in Eugene's history regarding people of color. Could be bad things, could be good things. We discussed, we have a number of murals, but could we do more, art that's actually statues, or try to interact technology more so when folks come visit our city, right? Can we QR code some of these murals or symbols so that it's a little more interactive? So we just had a little nice half an hour wrap session. And we didn't discuss it yesterday, but I also did have a brief conversation with the mayor about a resolution Seattle passed on an anti-swatting resolution. Do folks know what swatting is? So essentially, it started in the video game community, in which this guy lost, and he called, basically somehow through his computer, sent a message to a local police department that the said individual had done an awful, heinous crime, and a SWAT unit was sent to this person's house and actually broke into their house while this person was live streaming. So since that incident, there's been a number of incidents in which people will send SWAT units to
retaliation.
to prominent civil rights leaders, and it actually did end up in the assassination of an individual who was in their house, and a SWAT team was sent to their house because they thought they had done something terrible, and they were killed. So what Seattle did is they made a registry of elected officials, civil rights leaders in the community, and so that if a call were to come in about said individual, local police department would have to check the registry before sending out a SWAT team. So also in the works for maybe next month or down the line. So just wanted to also let y'all know that that's something that I'm currently taking a look at right
I was
now.
just gonna say, my cross street, which is 15th, there was 4 swatting incidents in a year.
Yep.
And none of them were, I mean, it was somebody calling in just addresses that we
Yep.
think they had a problem with.
Yeah, we had one out River Road too.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
So it is something that happens. It's not, so that just know that it's, again, there's a lot of, the couple things I mentioned are in the works and I'm thinking about them and having a conversation with folks. But as I start to firm up, I'll be reaching out to you all for some help and feedback.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, November, what y'all got in your, what do you wanna do?
Seems like we should continue talking about the human rights though.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely need to stay.
Yeah.
So we'll have more details by then. When do we typically vote for, it was January, right? For the International Human Rights Day Award? We do that in January usually?
January.
It's January, right?
We have to give it out on
Yeah.
MLK Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying that we
will
usually
be-
have discussions in January, don't we? Or is it
I
December?
wasn't here, so I don't know.
So we should maybe talk about it next time.
We'll talk about it next
We
time.
should
Like,
probably talk about
yeah.
it next
I
time.
don't know why I remember it being, I think we.
We'll meet the day after, won't we?
When
Probably,
will the
yeah.
application be due, I guess is a question for you, Fabio.
We have to submit pretty soon.
Oh, no,
So
actually,
just
we
get-
don't. We meet Tuesday and it's on Monday,
Right.
the way it worked out.
It's 'cause it's what, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have the materials out in the next 2 weeks, so
Okay.
give us a full month
We can
to
share
get.
with community
Yeah.
members to nominate.
Yep.
Yeah,
Potentially, depending on how this month goes and how much work council has, I may come ready to propose a resolution on either the graffiti or the swatting stuff. But again, it all depends on, I think, timing and if it fits within council's block. If we have the right conversations and try to figure that all out, but that may come. Anything else?
Any presentations or anything next week?
We'll talk about the NAMI thing, right?
Oh, right, NAMI
Yeah.
too, NAMI support request. And I'm sure other stuff will fill our time.
Did you already say talking more about the toxics thing next
Yeah.
time? You did say that, okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk with them, because again, like, there's a lot of things coming up, and that because we only have one more meeting left, I wanna be careful of, like, not coming next meeting being like, let's pass all these things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I'm gonna have these conversations with folks and see where we have November, and then December we don't meet, right? Because we usually don't meet December, we have one November.
We have the event.
We have the event, and we've got November meeting, and then we have to wait till January. So I want to make sure not to like come next meeting and just throw stuff at you. So it is 7:15. We got 5 minutes
Yeah.
left, usually in this, but we ended on time, folks. So,
I'll go to the next city.
yeah, I'll see y'all next
I'll let
month.
you be graduated for cooking.